But, in my mind, I already thought they were out then.
Also, 1 win in 6 matches. 1 win in 6 games. I mean, for a team with the history of Inter Milan, for a team like Inter Milan, at the moment, with the players that we have, we should do much, much better. And if there is one thing that I think is that Conte needs to... I mean, right now all right, that leads me to the next question. Not being in the Europa League, silver lining or not? What do you think? Because I know that Ruairi has got his old theory, but I want to hear it from an Inter fan.
I think every fan doesn't want to be in the Europa League until they're in the final, then it's a major trophy. That's the attitude towards the Europa League. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think it will be a bonus to the Serie A campaign?
Yeah, definitely. I have the same thought. Maybe not all the way to the final. Maybe I think you start taking it serious when you get to quarters, semis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to finish third, so I'm happy about that. I won, and as we said about Conte, a lot of people think he's maybe even the best coach in the world when he has 7 days to prepare a match, when the team has time to rest, when they can run their sweat the shirt, as Conte puts it. Yeah. So I'm happy that I think, and we've got a squad big enough as well now, so we probably have to trim the squad now because it's probably a bit too big. But I'm quite happy that we didn't make it to third. Now we can focus on the Scudetto and Coppa Italia. One of them he has to bring. Yeah,
he has to win one of them, right? Yeah, he has to win one of them now.
Yeah, now there's no excuses. Last year I was happy with the progress we made. Finishing second. That 1 point behind Juve was a little bit of a false image. It wasn't really that close. But no, this year he has to win something. There's no excuses. I don't want to hear him moaning about they didn't bring me Kante or they didn't bring me this
we
guy.
Only buy players from Sassuolo or whatever it is.
Yeah. I don't want to hear none of that.
Yeah, so there was this Italian comedian speaking on television a few weeks back, and he said that Interisti are already very, they tend to criticize their team a lot. When they hear a manager make up excuses, they lose it. Do you remember Mazzarri saying that somebody had diarrhea and that's why they didn't play well? Saying that it was raining and that's why they didn't play well? So Mazzarri, before those statements, he hadn't been doing so bad at Inter. After he made those statements, it was a downfall. Inter fans are already, they criticize their team enough already. They don't want to hear that shit. And I feel like Conte is starting to do that. And that is winding me up a little bit. And that's why I don't want to hear that interview that he had last night.
I feel like this is like Conte does this a bit in press conferences, all right? I think he falls out with people quite often, no? It doesn't surprise me that him and Capello don't like each other. They're two very strong personalities. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. He's not a very charismatic person. Like he makes it hard for you to like him as a person. I like him, footballing wise, as much as things have happened now. But as a person, like how Mourinho, you can like him or dislike him, but he's got charisma, and he can own that press conference room. But with Conte, you can just see he just gets triggered so easily. He's like so, he's not very methodical. He doesn't think things through. He just says what comes to his mouth. Even though this season there's been a little bit of a change, I think Tommaso probably has noticed that he's been like, since that meeting that he had with the management, I think in August, he's been a bit more calmer. That's the only way.
Are we going to go, as a club, are we going to go full Juventus and hire Allegri after Conte or not?
I think so. It looks like we're going full Juventus, Marotta, Conte, and then Allegri. We're going full Rube.
Dude, guys, by the way, listeners, you can't see Ruairi. Ruairi is having a great time.
I'm laughing a lot, I'll be honest. I still think you should go for Simeone. I still think there should be... I think Simeone and Inter are like a match made in heaven. I can see them doing really well there, honestly.
Not right now. I think that right now Inter need to win fucking something. Like, I hope that Conte can win something. Like, what I'm disappointed about is that after the treble, like, which is the biggest dream that he could ever have, it all went shit for so many years. Like, it was terrible. Which is it explains how much money Moratti had spent over his tenure at Inter. Like, we had debts to pay off when we won the Champions League. It wasn't like we won the Champions League, let's get better. It was like, let's pay off all the money that we owe to half Europe. So I kind of understand how it was physiological that in the years following that Champions League final, we were shit, but it dragged on for way too long. when Spalletti came in, I will always praise Spalletti for the work he has done with Inter, but it felt like we needed something more, and I thought that Conte would be something more. Right now I'm starting to think that Conte is in between Spalletti and another manager that will make us win. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously that's what we brought him for. We thought he was going to be the step up, the next step from Spalletti, the change of mentality. We wanted to bring a winning mentality, and yeah, it doesn't feel like he's brought it. The change of mentality. We're still having the same issues. We're still losing these matches the same we were under Spalletti. So yeah, I agree with you, but we just gotta hope that maybe he brings the Scudetto home now.
We've got the time and we've got everything to win the Scudetto. I wish AC Milan to travel to the furthest corners of the continent. May you draw teams from Azerbaijan, Ireland, Poland, Norway. Oh my God, I wish you the longest trips ever. But going back to Inter Milan, I've got two questions. One is a big one. The Eriksen situation. We've got to talk about it because last night, honestly, I wish I was a fly to just be, because something must have happened between Eriksen and Conte. Something must have happened. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Eriksen must have snapped at Conte at some point. But last year, towards the end of last season, he was getting minutes. Right now, that embarrassment of putting him in at 5 minutes from the end. But last night, I did see Eriksen coming in, looking for revenge. And man, when he came in, I was like, this guy is going to score a goal because he had two very good chances and he looked ready. So I'm thinking, why, Conte, are you still doing this? Is it like your personal relationship is more important than what the guy would do for the team? I really don't understand it. What's your take on Eriksen?
There's conflicting things. I keep changing my mind on it, but I think there is a personal thing to it, of course, that he said those things when he was with Denmark in the international break. He said, why are you not playing? And he said, go ask Conte. I'm not sure the fans want me to play. I want to play. So I'm sure Conte, the way he is, he didn't take those comments on board very well. And he hasn't played, he's only played 15 minutes since that comment in all in total. So that probably has affected the relationship. But I think it's just a footballing philosophy. I don't think Conte just doesn't see, a player with the technical ability and lack of intensity like Eriksen. He just doesn't seem to fit in his footballing philosophy. The Sevilla Europa League final, I remember he brought him on in the 78th, 79th minute as well. So this is not new that Conte is preferring Gagliardini over I don't know if you know, Rory. Gagliardini is like I'm
aware of Gagliardini. Yeah, he's definitely more a Conte player. I've said this a few times on the pod, and I've said it to Tommy multiple times. When Inter signed Eriksen, I was like, why have they got Eriksen for Conte? He's not a Conte player. He's not what Conte wants or needs for his system. And it's such a waste of a player. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that you've taken him off Spurs' hands. Definitely happy about that. But he was I think under Conte, it was never they were not going to work out. And as we've talked about Conte's press conferences, we know that he takes personal things quite personally. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was just a personal dispute that means he's not playing.
I think I honestly you would probably agree with me, Uncle. Knowing Inter's history, right now it's starting to feel like Inter in the early 2000s, one of the best looking teams in Europe. You look at the lineup, you're like, wow, these guys, did they win the Champions League? No, they didn't even win the title. They didn't even win the Scudetto. That narrative is coming back a little bit. Conte was so against the Pazza Inter mentality that now, he tried so hard to remove that mentality. I think it lasted 3 months. And now we're back to being who we usually are. But man, when I think about Eriksen possibly leaving in January, there are two players that come to my mind, Pirlo and Seedorf. I was too young to remember how those situations actually unfolded. I read up on them. On one side, it felt like Pirlo wasn't really a finished product, like he would be the eternal wonder kid. So it kind of made sense to turn a page from him. But Seedorf had won already 2 Champions Leagues. I don't know how Inter didn't value him enough. And Rory's having another great laugh. Guys, it's so annoying to have Rory on the podcast.
I'm sorry, but selling Seedorf is such a ridiculous move. But
shut up, Rory. Just mute yourself.
I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, good. Yeah, he muted himself again. But yeah, whenever I see Eriksen on the bench and I read rumors of us possibly trading him with Paredes from PSG, man, I look away. I don't want to think about that even slightly. Like, something that honestly scares me. And last night, he came in with the intensity that Conte needs. So I'm thinking, is he going to start the next game for Inter, or is he going to have another 5 minutes at the end of the game? So my question is, do you think that Eriksen is going to have more playing time from now on or not? Also, because if we want to sell him, we got to convince the potential buyer that he's a good player.
Yeah, that's the confusing thing, because Conte says, I'm making these decisions for the best of Inter, I'm looking after the Inter, but you're devaluing a player that you bought, for 20 million. Now it looks like, when we signed him, I said, it's a gamble. If it doesn't work out, you sell him for 20 million. But at this rate, you're going to even struggle to sell him for 20 million, obviously, with the COVID economy as well. So, yeah, I hope he gets some minutes. And, I hope, he puts aside, I hope maybe this was a punishment for those comments that he made. Maybe now he's, done his time and you can put him back into the team. Because, I was like, when we started the season, he started the first match against Fiorentina. I was like, okay. So he has some, plans for Eriksen. Then the 3-4-1-2 clearly didn't work. But I feel like even in the 3-5-2, he could work. He could work as the mezzala. He doesn't have to be. You don't have to make the 3-4-1-2 to make him work. Eriksen needs to. I don't like that the whole thing is gone against Conte. I think Eriksen has a little bit of blame. Here I think is maybe not 50-50, 40-60 to Conte, I would say. But, Eriksen as well, I feel like he could have probably, when he comes into matches, he's a little bit, soft, mollo, he probably can definitely improve on that. But we don't know what's going on in training. We don't know if maybe he's not training well enough. So I hope he gets some minutes, and I hope, someone buys him off us, because, yeah, if Conte stays, this is not going to work.
So wait, before Rory, I see that Rory wants to say something, but before Rory, would you rather... So what do you hope? That Conte changes his mind, or that he plays well so that we can sell him for a good price?
Yeah, no, right now I'm finished. I think the Christian Eriksen story at Inter is finished. I'd rather sell him, and he's got very big wages as well. He's I think he's the same wages as Lukaku, 7.5 million. So that will be a big space that makes into our wage budget as well.
With Eriksen, I saw something that it was like it pissed Conte off that he didn't run quickly enough to take a corner. Like, if you know what I mean, I think, Eriksen isn't that kind of guy. So, like I've said before, they'd seem like clashing personalities, kind of similar to kind of Mesut Ozil. Maybe he looks lazier than he is. I think maybe he suffers from that a little bit. But yeah, Conte is inflexible.
I was gonna ask Uncle. To like, if you were Inter's manager, what lineup would you have to fit Eriksen's in? But then you told me that you would rather get rid of him, that it's done. So I'm not going to ask that question. I don't know, man. I feel like he could play in so many different positions. I just think that he needs time. Are we talking in the past already? He needed the time to adapt to Serie A. In the Premier League, you have so many more spaces. I remember the goal that Eriksen scored against us 2 years ago in the Champions League. That kind of defines Eriksen. He kind of needs an open field. In Serie A, you don't have that many opportunities. But last night, I noticed there were a few chances where I was like, if Eriksen was there right now, because towards the end of the game, Shakhtar were really opening up, and they were leaving a lot of space on the back. And the Denmark goal that he scored about a month ago, the goal he scored against us, the guy with an open pitch is deadlier than Lukaku, is my opinion.
I don't know, man. I think some people are elevating him more than to a level that he's not been at a while. Like, let's not forget, he's been off form. This is not just this season. He was off form last season for Spurs as well, which obviously was because he kind of maybe mentally checked out because he asked to leave Spurs and then it didn't happen. So he was playing, maybe half-hearted, but still, from what Spurs fans tell me, Eriksen has been, not been that great for them for a while. I think maybe as we view Eriksen, maybe we elevate him a bit too much from what we've seen when we see the highlights of him. But yeah, I don't think. I think we have a little bit differing opinions on this one. I think he's a little bit half-half. I think Conte is being a bit blamed too much for this situation.
But no, I agree. I wish, to really understand this situation, you would really have to be a fly and have the opportunity to get in the locker room, in the training ground, and really see what has happened.
We need an Amazon documentary.
Yeah, Eriksen and Conte.
Definitely up for that. I'll be honest. The Tottenham one was more than entertaining enough. I think an Inter one would be incredible.
Yeah, an Inter one would make for some banter, that's for sure. But all right, now we're out of the Champions League. We're out of